Enough already! I mean, some of these are kind of funny. But seriously, enough already with the stupid snap oversteer memes. Now, here we have a car. This is a Mark 1 Toyota MR2. It is my Mark 1 Toyota MR2, and it's guilty of snap oversteer. So what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna take this car, take it on a big, huge, empty parking lot, and we're gonna experiment. We're gonna see exactly how bad is the snap oversteer, how easy is it to get the snap oversteer, and can we do something to prevent it, to counter the snap oversteer. Okay, so while we are driving to that big empty parking lot, we're actually going to talk a bit about the theory of snap oversteer. Before that, there's a tunnel. Okay guys, so snap oversteer theory. Now basically we have three types of cars. Front engine, front wheel drive. Front engine, rear wheel drive, and mid engine, rear wheel drive. We also have rear engine, rear wheel drive, but it's just some Porsches, and we have all wheel drive. But for the simplicity, you know, of the explanation of this video, we're gonna stick to the first three because they're gonna be useful in explaining what is snap oversteer and how it actually happens. Now, if you have ever seen a car accelerating, maybe on a drag strip or even just in the city, you know, from a traffic light, you have probably noticed that the front of the car goes up a bit as the car accelerates. Now that's called weight transfer, and weight transfer is stupidly important to how a car behaves in many different scenarios. For example, weight transfer is what makes front engine, front wheel drive cars kind of bad at straight line acceleration if they have a lot of power and a lot of torque. As the front is lifted, the front wheels, the driven wheels, they do not have as much traction, so they have a lot of wheel spin. Now, let's imagine a scenario in a mid-engined car. My mid-engined car is allowed, so I'm gonna close that. Now, let's imagine a scenario. We're in a mid-engined car, and many mid-engined cars are actually two-seaters. So the single most concentrated point of fixed weight is almost always in the middle of the car. The engine and transmission, which are almost always together, are in the middle of the car. They're the heaviest thing. You're also in the middle of the car, and let's face it, humans are kind of heavy too. So everything is in the middle of the car. Now, we're accelerating towards a corner, and mid-engine cars are actually pretty good at acceleration, because as the front goes up, when the car accelerates, the weight is transferred towards the rear. Basic physics. And in a mid-engine car, the engine is there in the middle, and the driven wheels are the rear ones. So the engine actually helps give the rear wheels traction, and they're pretty good at acceleration. Now, let's imagine we're in a mid-engine car and we're going towards a corner. We're accelerating, the weight is transferred towards the back, the wheels have a lot of traction, the driven ones, the rear ones, and it's all dandy. Now, we go into a corner, and midway through the corner, we realize, holy crap, I went into this corner a bit too fast, I want to slow down. So, in this sort of a panic mode, you quickly release your foot from the throttle and the car decelerates. Now what happens? Well, weight transfer happens again, but this time around, as the car slows down, weight is transferred from the rear towards the front. And often you can see when this is done badly by an inexperienced driver, a mid-engine car is gonna do something like this. So why did this happen? Well, it's really simple. Let's imagine a hammer. There's a hammer head and there's the hammer shaft, the thing you hold in your hand. Now, take a simple unbroken hammer, put it on the floor and try to spin it. As you will see, it's not that easy to spin. spin it, right? Now it won't even make a couple of revolutions unless you spin it stupidly hard. Now, if you have a hammer, try to break that hammer, something you can sacrifice, and put the hammerhead right on the middle of the shaft and try spinning that hammer. As you can see, it's a lot easier to spin that hammer. It spins, it makes many more revolutions. And this is your answer to why a mid-engine car is going to snap oversteer. It's also called lift-off oversteer because it happens when you lift off your foot from the throttle. Okay, so now we're actually approaching our big parking lot where it's going to be safe to experiment with snap oversteer, and we're going to see actually how it behaves in the real world, when it happens, how it happens, and what we can do to counter it. Okay guys, so we are on location, and as you can see, we have a giant space ahead of us. It's free, there's no cars, and we can do whatever we want here. We're not bothering anybody. Incidentally, we're also surrounded by some really nice nature and the site of the 1984 Sarajevo Olympics long, ski jump. So yeah, nobody jumps from there right now, but we don't care about skiing today. We care about snap oversteer. So this is how we're gonna do it. First, I'm gonna go up ahead in that curve, accelerate, and I'm gonna try to potentially, actually purposely, intentionally create snap oversteer, and I'm not gonna do anything to fight it. I wanna see how much it takes to get this car to snap oversteer. And then we're gonna do some more intentional snap oversteer, but we're gonna try to counter it to see if it's possible. If you mess up, can you counter it? Can you save the car? So let's do it. Intentional snap oversteer, no fighting back, is up first. Okay, so I was able to make it snap oversteer. It's a weird feeling. When it's past the tipping point, there's nothing you can do, but I had to go against myself. I had to force myself to abruptly release the throttle and not react, because I think I could have easily saved it, and that's what we're gonna try right now. And we're gonna create snap oversteer, and then we're gonna try to counter it and prevent the car basically from oversteering all the way around. Let's see how that goes. Okay, so the weather is really beautiful, and that was pretty fun. So, conclusions. There are a few really important conclusions to be taken from this little snap oversteer experiment. 1. To create snap oversteer, in order for it to happen,
The throttle release needs to be sudden, it needs to be abrupt. I have failed to create snap oversteer several times because I've been driving this car for a while, and before I started driving it a bit more seriously, I did research the topic like any sane person would, and I read everywhere suddenly releasing the throttle creates snap oversteer. So I made this habit to never, in a corner, to suddenly release throttle. If you release the throttle gradually at all, just incrementally, just a bit more slowly than panic mode throttle release, the car is not going to snap oversteer. It's gonna try to throw the back out, but it's gonna stop. The traction kind of goes and comes back, and it just jerks a bit to the side, but it doesn't snap oversteer. To make it snap oversteer, you have to be honestly kind of crazy, kind of naive, and pretty inexperienced. Now those three things are a very common combination in people, a lot more common than you think. And I think many people crash the MR2 because when you drive it, it feels really stable, it feels really nice, it gives you confidence in corners, and people drive it faster and faster and faster, while at the same time being inexperienced. And then there comes this corner they didn't expect, they release throttle, quickly, panic mode, they freeze up, and the car, almost lost my camera there. Wait a second, there's a bit of wind, and my tripod is a $12 tripod, sorry about that. So they suddenly release throttle in panic mode and they freeze up. It's really important not to freeze up when it happens, but that's natural. If you do not have experience with this thing, you're naturally gonna freeze up and you're not gonna react. So that's number one. Sudden release isn't good. It will cause snap oversteer if you're going fast enough in a corner. If there is enough momentum, if you release it suddenly, it's gonna snap. Driving normally, driving just mildly aggressively, this car is never gonna snap oversteer. Lesson number one. Lesson number two, tires are super important. This car was really easy to control, my car, because the suspension is fully rebuilt. I have Ibach springs, Koni shocks, polyurethane bushings, and almost brand new Toyo D1R tires. So it's a pretty nice combination, and it was really nice to control. It was really gradual, and you could feel the tipping point. The tipping point can be felt. It's not as sudden as people want to convince you. It does take some experience to be able to feel it, but you can feel it. The time interval, the amount of time during which the tipping point exists before the car snaps is admittedly very short, but once you get used to it, honestly, it's easy to catch it. So during my second, third, fourth, fifth time of doing snap oversteer and countering it, I could honestly easily counter it every time. Maybe that's just me, maybe I have already some experience with the MR2, but I think any sufficiently experienced driver can easily counter the snap oversteer in this car if it has a good suspension, a decent suspension, decent tires, and if it has an alignment. I know a lot of people buy these cars, they're full of enthusiasm, they buy them cheap, they do not spend money on tires, they just want to drive, they just want to have fun, and this is, I think, what really helps to support this myth. People crash these cars easily because they simply do not take the important precautions. They go into it head first, and if you do it like that, this car will punish you. I'm not gonna lie on that. Any mid-engine car will punish you. I mean, just Google supercar fails. Almost 80% of the supercars out there are mid-engine, and you can just watch rich, inexperienced people crash mid-engine cars like it's nothing. Because when you're naive about it, they will snap oversteer. So how to counter it? Countering it is honestly fairly straightforward. You counter it like you would counter any oversteer. The important thing is to react fast. The other important thing is not to over counter. If you counter too much, it can try and snap back the second time. If if you get afraid, if you panic, if you counter too much, you think I caught it, I'm gonna counter now, and you do it too much, it's gonna go crazy. And the second time, if you counter too much, I don't care who you are, you're not gonna be able to stop it. The second time is gonna be too much because it's basically almost double the momentum, and you're not gonna stop that one. So what can we learn from all of this? Number one, snap oversteer. Yes, it exists. I'm not gonna lie to you. It exists. A front-engined, front-wheel drive car is never gonna be able to snap oversteer like this. It exists in mid-engine cars. Is it bad, as the memes want to convince you? No, unless you're completely inexperienced in driving a car that is not in a sound mechanical condition with bad tires. That's when the memes apply to you. But don't let the memes apply to you. If you want an MR2, but you're afraid of all this snap oversteer hype, my honest recommendation, go buy the car. If you're totally inexperienced, bring it to a giant empty parking lot just like this one and experiment. It's safe, nothing can go wrong, and experiment and try to create snap oversteer. Try to, intentionally make the car snap oversteer. Do that many times, buy some cheapo tires, and do that many times, wreck the tires, and you're going to learn how the car behaves, and you're going to be able to apply this into all other situations, and you're gonna be safe. And this is the best thing you can do. This is why advanced driver courses are good. But if you do not want to go to that length, still a really good, really nice precaution is to go to an empty space like this and practice, and then it's going to be second nature to you to never release the throttle suddenly in a corner when there's no need to do so, and you drive a mid-engine car basically like you would drive a go-kart. You brake early, but you get back on power early as well and exit the corner as fast as possible, which is contrary to how you drive maybe a front-wheel drive car. So I'm gonna enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. I'm gonna enjoy what's left of summer right here in the pretty little city of Sarajevo. So as always, thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to share, like, comment and subscribe. If you have any insights or experiences of your own when it comes to snap oversteer, the comment section, it's all yours. I'm gonna be there as well. And yeah, I'm gonna end it here. See you soon on the D4A channel.